Welcome to the Dance to Heal podcast. I'm your host, Jenny C. Cohen. Join me as I share stories of how life is a dance. I'm a cancer survivor, mother of two, and an award-winning performer who found that mind and body-connected movement is vital to healing in a way that is safe and tailored to your life. I created Dance to Heal Wellness featuring the Spotlight Confidence Formula and also authored the best-selling award-winning book, Outside In Recovery, Dancing My Way Back to Myself After Breast Cancer. I will bring new ways to help you on your dance journey and healing path. Are you ready to move? Dance to Heal starts now. Hello and welcome to the Dance to Heal podcast. I'm Jenny C. Cohen, and it is my utmost pleasure to welcome Fae Wilson, Kelly Fae, F-A-E Wilson, today to our podcast. Now, Kelly is an award-winning author who writes genre-blending romantic sci-fi and fantasy with the goal of gifting the reader hope. She also performs and teaches Arabic dance with the same goal. Outside of writing and dancing, you can find her playing with fairies, helping her husband care for their plethora of funky pets, or instigating a food fight at the dinner table. You can find her at kellyfaewilson.com. That's KELLYFAEWILSON.com. Welcome, Kelly.
Thank you, Jenny. I'm so excited to be here with you.
So, will you please just tell the audience what your dance moniker is so we can find you online with that also aspect?
Yes, my dance name is Tinuviel. It's Tinuviel. You can look me up on Facebook. And I love my dance name. My husband gave it to me. It's a Tolkien name. Did you know that? Did I ever tell you my dance name story?
I know that.
Okay, so Jenny and I used to be in the troupe together. I can't believe I didn't tell you my dance name. Okay, so the story of Beren and Luthien in the Silmarillion that Tolkien wrote is a story of an elf who's dancing out in the forest, and a human man sees her and falls in love with her, and he doesn't know her name, and he calls her Tinuviel, which means nightingale because she's singing too. So, and the story is my husband and I kind of started dating at a dance in our apartment complex. I grabbed his hand and said, "Come twirl with me," and that was that, and we just never stopped. So he named me that for dance. I love it.
I'm getting chills and tears at the same time. How is that possible? Kelly, that's amazing. Like, first of all, I also want to have you tell the audience about like what your husband and you have done together as a couple besides raising this amazing family. And this story, I never knew the origin of your name because most of the time in the dance community, we're gifted our names by like a female mentor and mother figure, and I never had that, so I know myself. And we're always cautioned so audience members in the dance world, because we borrow from Arabic culture, we're told to be very careful your name choice because sometimes it can mean something different from what we intended it. And you also want to make sure that it is the meaning you want it to be intended. If it's a similar word in different languages, so you have to cross-reference, right?
Yeah.
We've had girlfriends who like accidentally named themselves like fog or less complimentary words.
Oh dear.
Dear, yeah. I love the story. All right, so have you podcasted before? That came up in our conversation.
Yeah. So my husband and I actually did a podcast together called Aquarimax Pets for 8 years. I think we had like over 300 episodes or something. It's funny because I've just guested on his YouTube channel now where we were kind of going over my role in his current Aquarimax with his followers now. But we had that podcast for I think it was 2008 that we started it, about to 2016, and then he transitioned to YouTube more. And it was funny because in real life, he's the funny one. He's the comic relief, and I'm the like, okay, no, we actually have to get things done. But on this it was an aquarium pets podcast, and he was the one with the answers. So we kind of flipped, and he was the straight guy with all the answers, and I was the plucky comic relief. So that was different. Yeah, but it was a lot of fun. When he transitioned into YouTube, he's like, "You want to come do the YouTube with me?" And I'm like, "There's no way I'm putting makeup on and filming every week." The podcast was
I
So
was,
I took
I was like, I want to hear if you were the comic relief in the background while he's trying to do a serious talking and setting up on his.
yeah. Yeah, I was a goofball, but so yeah, when he moved over to YouTube, I purposely did all the backstage stuff and help him with his business that way, but it was a lot of fun.
And what is the name of your husband's YouTube
It
channel?
is Aquarimax Pets,
How do
and
you
it's
spell that?
like Aqua, Aquarimax Pets, because his middle name is Max. So instead of aquarium, it's Aquarimax. So
Like that. I like
yeah,
that play on words.
it's cute.
And you recently published a book, did you not, Kelly?
I did, and I'm so excited about it. It's been quite a few years coming. It's called Tanked, and it's an adventure romance. Like if you liked The Lost City with Sandra Bullock or and
Hmm.
Channing Tatum, or like The Fall Guy with Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling, it's those kind of vibes, but with superheroes.
Ooh, that's just to launch, didn't it, Kelly?
It did. September 13th was our launch. So it's 10 days. It's been out like 10 days as of when we're recording this. So
Wow. So, audience members, you can get that book at the Amazon link that is on Kelly's website. That is at Kelly Fae, Fae Wilson.com, Wilson. And, we first talked about how life is art, right?
mhm.
Or all of art is storytelling.
All
If you
art is
flip it.
storytelling.
Yeah. So, explain to us what you mean by that particular phrase.
Yeah, I love this. It's coming from dance and then getting into writing. It's been so fun to see how they inform each other, how my dance background influenced how I started writing and how learning more about writing changed the way that I dance. Any form of art that you look at that is effective art is telling a story. It doesn't matter if it's a vase or a painting or a novel or, performance art. We get drawn into it because there's a story in it and a story behind it. And that's what humans really get drawn to. That's how we learn the best is through stories. And you know, I think sometimes when we say, oh, this piece has no soul in it, it's because they didn't put a story in it. Do you know what I mean?
That's brilliant. I love that observation. For me, it's even certain dance performances, right? I don't
Mhm.
feel anything. I mean, it's pretty to look at, and I know the dancer worked very hard practicing the steps. And when there's no story associated with that performance, I'm enjoying it, and then I don't feel any different afterwards. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it doesn't change you. It doesn't stick. I call it sometimes the flavor test. Like when you read a book, you see a movie and it sticks in your head and you're still thinking about it weeks later and it has its own particular flavor. Yeah, there's some that, you watch and there's no story really in them, there's no soul, and it doesn't pass the flavor test.
It doesn't well, I mean, right now as I'm embarking on this business of coaching, right, and using
Mhm.
dance for transformation for my clients, over and over again when I'm called to speak, it's through story. All of my coaches now, I know. Do you know? I recently learned that a mentor is someone that you don't pay for guidance. Anybody that you pay for guidance is a coach.
As a
So
coach.
yeah, like I'm like, oh, you're right. So all of my coaches, I used to call them my mentors, but they're not. They're my coaches. There's a big push now in the business aspect of attracting people to you or providing services is all through storytelling.
Mhm. That's what our spirits are attracted to. That's what our subconsciouses are attracted to, through history. That's how people learned. That's how we passed on knowledge was story.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah, I remember even my very first solo. No one understood what my specific details of the story, but they got my feeling. Because
Yes.
yeah, because when I did my very first big solo outside of New York, it was when I went to TribalCon in Atlanta, and I had been going there for 2 or 3 years, just coming from out of town, supporting it, and I love that community. And then when I was asked to be in the gala show, which was a big deal, right? Very few people got asked.
And you go, "Ooh."
I was like, "Wow, that's so cool!" And it was this a tiny ballroom, maybe 300 people. They were always sold out. They started 2 minutes before the time of show. That's how they were like, "We're starting now. Let's go. Doors are locked."
Nice.
You can't get in. I mean, it did not lock from the inside. People could get out, but you couldn't get in because
Wow.
they were very high level of caliber of workshops and shows. And I remember that first show, Kelly, I performed about my son being diagnosed with type 1 diabetes and how heartbroken I was as a mother. Now,
Mhm.
that's one of the few that I danced from a wound and I didn't dance from a healed place. Right? And
Mhm.
so I had to work myself up into this state that I was feeling. And I remember walking off stage, and the person who produced the event came over. She's bawling. She's bawling, and she came up and she hugged me, and she was like, uh, she just couldn't even speak. She had no idea what I was dancing about, right?
But
But
your wound speaks to whatever her wound was.
right, right.
Yes.
You know, storytelling, though, we rarely encourage people to talk about it from something you're not healed from, right? Because
Mhm.
the goal in your storytelling is after you've gotten the takeaway, after you've learned the lesson. So
Yeah.
you've best distilled in your life what you learned and what you're hoping other people can learn from it. When you're in the middle of it, that's your private time, folks. Let's be clear, okay?
Yeah.
Because sometimes in our storytelling, when we're wounded, we can pull people into the trauma when it's not necessary, because people don't. It can inspire people's subconscious to take in a different way from your intention. Just be aware of that, okay? So
Yeah,
just
well, and I think that's a really good point that there's there's art making that's just for us. You dance in your living room to work something out. You can write a story and never show it to anybody because it's just for you. It's what you need to get out. And that is just as valid a piece of art as something that you perform or that you put up on Amazon to sell.
yep, yep. Versus stuff that you once you're called to, and this is a big deal,
Mhm.
folks. If you're called to perform to the public, it no longer belongs to you. You're just a messenger. You become a
Yeah,
conduit, for
it's
the
true.
what people are supposed to understand and receive from that. Whether it's
Hmm.
through your book, a performance, poetry reading, a song you sing, speaking a story,
Yeah, 100%.
right? What was the inspiration for your book Tanked, Kelly?
This particular one, I feel like all of my books have come from different places, but this one I was waking up one morning and your brain's in that place where it plays, but you're not quite all the way awake. And it was a little tail end of a dream, and it was just this image of these two opposite characters where this one was really physically strong, but very, very tender and kind of broken on the inside. And the other one physically had all these health issues, but on the inside was really strong and had a very strong sense of self. And I got out of bed and I grabbed my notebook and I wrote the first scene, which is still in the book. It's still the first scene of the book. It really didn't change that much in the edits, that first scene. So that was the nugget of the whole story right there. This very tender, shy little guy in this giant exterior. And the whole book, he's going through trying to really figure out who he really is.
I love that. And I love what comes. So when you pick up the book, audience members, it's tanked an adventure romance, right? And then I just love the cover of this kind of strong guy and this petite woman next to him. But then you're like, oh, well, who's really the stronger one of the two?
Yeah. Yes, yes. And Grace is very strong. Like any geeky author, any geeky self-respecting author, I make myself a playlist for the book, right? And the Titanium song, you
Yes.
know that one? I can't even think of who does it right now, which is silly, but it talks about being bulletproof and everything, and he is bulletproof, but it's Grace's song in the playlist because that's her.
Yeah. Well, most women, we really are bulletproof to some point, aren't we?
Yeah,
I
we
mean, no
are.
one acknowledges it, right? And I
Mhm.
think beyond oh, it's International Women's Day or Mother's Day or your birthday, there needs
Yes,
to be
our
like
3 days.
3 days. And if you kind of include us like in Parents and Grandparents Day or something, I guess,
There you go.
Maybe sometimes. Yeah, I think I love the fact that you're bringing attention to the inner strength that women normally carry. That's really regularly acknowledged,
Hmm. Yeah.
right?
And she is very strong, and her whole point in this is community, and she builds communities around her, and her whole point is trying to lift up other people and really make this really strong community for everybody to be safe in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I really enjoy this idea that she brings community to the male lead, right?
Mhm,
Since
yeah,
he's so isolated.
he is. And in the story, world building wise, he even is in this world. It's our world, but superheroes are a known thing.
Yeah.
They're fairly recent, but there's been legislation passed, like federal legislation called the Anti-Vigilante Act, where superheroes are required to work through a licensed manager as like their liaison with law enforcement. So they can't just go out and, be a superhero on their own. And one of the stipulations in this legislation is no quote unquote team ups, to borrow superhero lingo. Yeah. No Avengers, right? There's no Justice League, there's no Avengers. You're working on your own with your manager. And it is very isolating, which is something that they deal with in the book as well, of how we do need community and we do need to be able to work with other people.
That's ingenious way of telling the world through storytelling,
Thank
Kelly.
you.
Yeah, because we can't heal. You cannot heal in isolation. Sorry, folks.
Mm-mm.
A monk. Think about definition of a monk. Okay, they're very, very, very strong in will, but they're also very, very isolated. They're
Hmm.
not. They're not finding their higher selves in a community. So they're kind of healing in isolation. I don't even say they would be healed. They're ascending to another level, but I don't know if they're healed.
Hmm.
They're strong in their mindset that transcends their physical needs. Most of us will never take that path.
Right.
So if we're in isolation in communities that are there for you, you're really literally cutting yourself off from your own healing.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting too, because I know you wanted to talk about how to get into writing and publishing. And I was, thinking about this before we started recording. People think of writing as a very isolated act. It's you there with your computer, your laptop, your notebook, nose in your pages, writing and everything. And so much of it is your own work, but it's really so much less isolated than we think. If you look at really successful authors, really good writers, they have teams, they have writing groups, they have beta readers, they have their editors, they have like writing is really a collaborative process. And even if the author is the one with the seed of the idea and the one who puts the actual words on the paper, they didn't create that story on their own.
They didn't. They didn't. I mean, when I wrote my book, what do I call it? Because I'm formulating my second book, Kelly. So I'm like, what is this one
What's
called?
the other
Okay,
one called?
this
That's
is
okay. It's a very relatable moment.
so when I wrote my book about my recovery, my very immediate recovery after breast cancer, outside in recovery, dancing my way back to myself after breast cancer.
Which was beautiful, and I loved it, by the
Thank you,
way.
Kelly. Thank you.
Mhm.
It was born of just the stories of what had happened in my life that led to the point of cancer, getting through treatment, and then trying to pick my pieces back together again, right? So, and I remember the publisher that helped me, the team of people they put together, the editor, the person who came up with the cover,
Mhm.
another editor, and it was pretty interesting to not feel like I was completely by myself. Is the best way for a person to start writing besides writing, folks, you got to do that, okay? Like,
Yeah.
what's NaNoWriMo stand for? Because we did that. That whole is
It's
November.
National Novel Writing Month. The actual organization, to my knowledge, is no more.
Okay. November.
But you can pick a month in the year and just do it. And there are actually quite a few writing groups that are like, hey, we're gonna just do it our own selves this month. So it's still alive in some form.
Yes, yes. So you can do a Google search for that, audience members, because I remember my kids. who were young teens at the time, and I participating in NaNoWriMo a couple of years in a row, where we committed to writing a certain number of days per month. Like, I'm sorry, every day of that month. So certain number of words.
Certain
Oh
number
my
of
God.
words.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
That's
I'm
okay.
gonna give myself grace because I am bilingual, so like
You're awesome.
I'm
You're
watching too many
awesome.
like C drama, so like I'm watching everything in Mandarin and then trying to speak English. I grew up in the States. All right, so if you set yourself even to start with a week where every day you write about 2 to 5,000 words about some
Mhm.
thought, and then start to see if there's a correlating theme around that. That could be a way to try. What's another way they could try to just start writing? Thanks for listening to the Dance to Heal podcast with Jenny C. Cohen. Come back next time to hear stories of inspiring triumph and learn more ways that you can heal yourself. To work with me and continue your journey, visit danceandheal.com. Are you ready to move?